Good evening, everyone. And by everyone, I mean those incredible two people that are currently watching. Thank you for being here. This is the Sideline Podcast. My name is Jared Booker. My co-host is Kevin Showalter, and he won't be available this evening, but he will be engaging in the comments. So if you do have comments that you'd like to throw in there, whether it's start-sit questions or comments about anything that I say that you have, again, we welcome that because ultimately my opinion is just my opinion and Kevin's opinion is just his opinion. And so we appreciate you being here. We are two best friends who love college football, and we hope to help you create an unbeatable fantasy football team. And so this podcast was created to help you with campus to Canton college football into the NFL football for fantasy leagues. We do have a listener league that is starting up next year. If you're interested in that, please leave your information in the comments or feel free to message us on X at the Sideline FF Pod. Thanks for joining us today. If you enjoy our content, please take a look at us on X at the Sideline FF Pod, as well as on YouTube at Sideline FF Pod. Subscribe and ring the bell if you want to be notified when we release fantasy football content. Today, I'll be breaking down a few bowl games from today's college slate, as well as a couple from the past couple of days, and any fantasy football relevant news from the weekend. Also, because Kevin is not available, I'm really hoping to engage with anyone who has any questions or comments about college football. I'm going to bring up some things that I have pretty strong opinions, but I welcome. I'm not so married to those opinions that I'm not willing to listen to other people. I do hold pretty strongly to my opinions, but please feel free to throw yours in there because I will respect those and not just immediately dump on you like most of the internet does. So without further ado, we're going to just dive right into the bowl game. So I think my first hot take is I'm not entirely sure that bowl games even matter anymore. I think that's maybe that's old news to a lot of you. With the NIL and with the transfer portal and people being able to sit out, I just don't know that they really matter. I remember growing up and looking forward to the bowl games, and people really played. They showed up and they played hard. And I understand wanting to look forward to your future and not throw your future away and really invest in the potential for the NFL, or if you commit to another team. I get it. I truly actually get it, but I'm still sad that bowl games just don't matter as much anymore. In the state of Washington, where Kevin and I live, Wazoo, or Washington State, was in a bowl game against Syracuse, and I think they lost like 25 or 30 guys in the transfer portal. It's just like, Syracuse won, and I do like Syracuse. I think they had a great year with their new coach, or with Coach Fran. But still, it's not as competitive as it used to be. I do believe that transfer portal restrictions need to be implemented. The fact that someone can be in the transfer portal and make a change before a bowl game and just commit to another team before their team even plays in a bowl game, that's ridiculous to me. And so if you disagree, or if you have an opinion about why that's not ridiculous and how it makes sense, feel free to shoot me a message right here on X or on YouTube, and I will answer, because I'm a real human being and I care. So, okay. So, recapping we'll start with the Armed Forces Bowl. This game was between Oklahoma and Navy, and happened yesterday. It was actually a really good game. It ended with a score of 21-20, with Navy winning. Blake Horvath had a huge run for I think it was 95 yards at one point for a touchdown. He ended the day with 18 carries for 155 and 2, and throwing the ball for 92 yards, and actually no touchdowns for Navy. But Oklahoma scored the first 14 points and then didn't do much. They ended up scoring a touchdown with very little time left on the clock and going for 2, which I really respect that. Why take it into overtime? Let's go for 2. I think overtime can be, it's a tricky thing, but I respect a coach who's willing to just go for 2 and forego the overtime. Brent Venables and the Oklahoma Sooners were on the losing end of that, giving the win to Navy, who ended the season with a 10-3 record. The Oklahoma Sooners, Michael Hawkins Jr. ended the day with 247 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. He also ran for 61 yards. Gavin Sawchuk, 13 carries for 67 yards and 1 touchdown. Someone he was on my fantasy team for Campus to Canton, but he's no longer. I think I traded him away, but someone to keep an eye on, Zion Kearney for Oklahoma. 2 receptions for 66 yards and 1 touchdown. He is a true freshman. So someone to keep your eye on. Not sure what he'll do next year, but we do have Mateer. I forgot his first name, but Mateer from Washington State. He was transferring to Oklahoma for the next college football season, and so he'll have someone pretty competent at the helm that could throw him the ball. So Zion Kearney, a name to keep your eye on. Oh man, Oklahoma, welcome. They've been in the SEC for a little bit now, but Brent Venables, when he was at Clemson and he was the defensive, the coordinator, I really enjoyed watching his play calling, and those were the years that Clemson had some elite defense. But now he's had 2 losing seasons in the last 3 years. The only other coach in Oklahoma history to do that was John Blake. That's not a record that I would be chasing. But unfortunately, Venables has achieved that. I'm not sure. He'll probably get another year, but he's certainly on the hot seat next year. If you think that he should be fired, or if you think they'll let go of him earlier, I'd love to hear from you. I think he gets another year. Brent Venables, I think he gets one more year to turn things around, but I don't know. I don't know if he actually can. Oklahoma is not the same team that they were. Looks like my co-host Kevin Showalter, he is in the comments here. He's wondering if Lane Kiffin. So there's 14 people listening to this. I'm assuming one of those is Kevin Showalter. One of the other 13 individuals, I'm sure, is Lane Kiffin. Lane, if you're on here, we want to hear what your thoughts are about the SEC and how well they've done this bowl season. I personally, Lane, am a huge fan of the SEC. I am just not super impressed with the way they've shown up to these bowl games. So, or in the playoffs. So, come on, SEC. Come on, Lane. Get it together. If Kevin was on here, he would be trashing on the SEC, but he's not on here. So I'm going to say, hey, SEC, get it together so that Kevin doesn't trash on you. If there are any Oklahoma Sooner fans on the live stream here, I would love to hear, what are your thoughts on Brent Venables? What are your thoughts on this game, the Armed Forces Bowl, where you lost by 1 point to Navy? Now, Navy's no slouch, but you're still you're an elite team, and you have been for a lot of years. So Norman, Oklahoma, what do you want to happen for next year? Do you want to keep Venables around? Do you want to would you like to see him go away? I would love to hear what you're thinking about that. So I made a tweet. So I'm what some may consider a bit of an old school mindset guy, and maybe that's really annoying. It could very well could be annoying, and maybe I'm not progressive enough. But I tweeted earlier, I think it might have been yesterday, during the Armed Forces Bowl, that I think the service academy teams are going to be the elite teams moving forward, or starting in like 10 years. I don't know, give them 5 or 10 years. I think that like Army, Navy, Air Force, I think those teams are only going to get better. The reason why it is because I think the thing that is not sexy, but that they have, is consistency. And they've got, I believe that they have guys on their team that are willing to like listen to their coach and stay in their lane and play their position. And they're there for a higher purpose. And so they're just playing football. It's kind of a secondary thing, but they're playing as a team and they're disciplined. And so I think in the world of NIL and with the transfer portal, with all these people moving around, I can't fault any of them. I get it and I hate it, but I get it. Move around, get your money. I can't fault you for getting your money or going to a school that will play you where you want to play. But that still I believe that puts schools at a disadvantage because you're constantly having to rebuild a team. I think team chemistry is a huge deal. Camaraderie is a huge deal. The locker room is a huge deal. And if that locker room is constantly changing over because of the transfer portal, I think that's a problem. You may have some blue chip studs, but if you're constantly changing over, I don't believe that you can put together I don't think you can put together a championship team, but maybe so. I could be absolutely wrong, but I think that is a benefit to Army, Navy, and the Air Force Academy, that they probably have guys that are going to stick around. They're going to learn how to play together. They're going to be disciplined, and they're going to submit to their coaching. So they may not ever win a college football playoff. Okay, that's fine. But the quality of football, I think, is only going to go up. And yes, they don't throw the ball for 400 yards. I get it. Like they're going to run the ball, specifically Navy and Blake Horvath. But that's just a take that I have, and I'm 100% okay with being wrong about that. But it's just a thought, and I'd love to hear what you guys think about that. If anyone has an opinion about whether I'm a complete idiot or not. Comment on here about Venables' contract buyout would be $44 million. So I think that it's probably accurate that he gets another year. That would be crazy to buy out for $44 million. I think that they see what he can do with. I think it's John Mateer from Washington State coming in from Washington State to be the quarterback next year. Hawkins, he true freshman this year, but he's a dual threat quarterback, and he didn't play terribly, but Oklahoma has not been what they've been. But so I think Venables is on the hot seat next year. I agree with that comment. But we'll see what happens. I think that seat is getting extremely hot there in Norman, Oklahoma. So let's see here. So moving on, I don't know if there's anybody else on here of note for that bowl game. So we'll go ahead and move on to the USC Texas A&M game. That was the Las Vegas Bowl. That game ended 35-31. I did not watch that game. I was hanging out with my family, so you can't fault me too much for that. But I was checking that score late. I picked Texas A&M to win that, as maybe some of you outside of Southern California did. I checked it late, and I thought, okay, we're probably okay. I think that Texas A&M will probably pull this bad boy out. And USC, I saw the highlight that USC had pulled that. They threw a touchdown with, I don't know, less than a minute to go to win that game. And so congratulations, USC. you had, I mean, I guess the only comment I really have for you is that, like, congratulations, you bookended your season quite well, beating LSU in the first game and then winning your bowl game and against Texas A&M. I think you, in those two games, you overachieved, and then you kind of underachieved the rest of the year. Yeah, I don't have anything else really to say. As far as highlights on that, Jaden Maeva went, well, I mean, he had a pretty good day. He went 22 for 39, threw for 295 yards and 4 touchdowns. He did have 3 interceptions, though. Kind of a big deal. It looks like, so some names here that I'm seeing for USC, there's not the top names for the rushing attack that there have been, guys sitting out. So Brian Jackson went 16 for 66 and 1. And then a gentleman named Amarion Peterson, 12 for 43. So the big day for USC, though, Jacoby Lane, 7 for 127 and 3. And Makai Lemon, 6 for 99. And Kyle Ford had a 6-catch, 59-yard day and 1 touchdown for USC. So a good day there. I think the big surprise here is Ruben Owens for Texas A&M, 13 for 56. He, again, I think I mentioned this last time, but I'm still pretty amazed that this guy is back. He had a knee injury in training camp or in preseason that was going to take him out for the entire season, and he made it back. So good for you, Ruben Owens. I wish that you had done a little bit more. I do think that you're going to have a great year next year. Marcel Reed, 292 and 3, but he also had two interceptions. I'm interested in whether Marcel Reed is going to be the starting quarterback for Texas A&M next year. I feel like with the transfer portal being what it is, he may or may not be there. I feel like I heard that Texas A&M picked someone up. So, but he is a dual threat quarterback. In this game specifically, he had 9 carries for 46 yards and 1 touchdown. So, I mean, he's shown some promise. So it would not surprise me if Texas A&M kept him at the helm, but there will be probably a quarterback battle this spring. So Las Vegas Bowl, USC pulls it out with less than a minute to go, 35-31. Texas A&M, not quite the season that they wanted. But that's just how it goes sometimes. Next game, we've got Miami versus Iowa State. That happened today. That was the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Miami lost. So I guess I'm just rubbing my temples here because I wish that game mattered to Miami. I mean, Xavier Restrepo, I get it. You're going to be in the NFL. But like Cam Ward, he only played a half. I also understand that. But Miami we were talking about Miami being in the playoff, and there was argument about Miami being gypped for not making the playoff, and then they go and lose to Iowa State. And Iowa State got blown out in the Big 12 championship game. Good job, Matt Campbell. I do think Iowa State, it's the first 11-win season in Iowa State history. So congratulations to Iowa State. But Miami, like, once you didn't make the playoff, it just didn't matter anymore, I guess. I do realize that your bowl game was named after a pastry that we all enjoyed as young children, and some of us enjoy now. But I mean, it's a bowl game nonetheless. So I feel like that has to matter. Maybe it doesn't anymore. And I'm a broken record. You can call me out. I'm a broken record, but I just wish they mattered. I loved bowl games, but it is what it is. So congratulations to Iowa State. I'm sure Cam Ward and Xavier Restrepo will be in the first round at least. Oh, yeah, definitely Cam Ward. If you feel like that was the best decision, or if you disagreed with him sitting out, I saw him warming up with the final drive yet to go. I don't know if he was just passing the ball with his buddy on the sideline or if he was actually thinking about going in. But I think he should have gone in. I think he should have gone in. One thing, and we'll touch on this. One thing that I have to give credit to Colorado and Coach Prime for is, and I don't know the details of this, but they provided insurance, draft insurance for their players to play in their bowl game today. Now, one thing I will say is Colorado got absolutely demolished by BYU. We'll get into that, and I will probably go on a little bit of a rant, and feel free to just comment and call me a meanie or an idiot. But I am not a Colorado fan, but I do appreciate Coach Prime going out and getting that bowl insurance, because that makes sense and that matters. And because of that, Shedeur Sanders did play the entire game. I believe I heard that Travis Hunter, he played both sides for most of the game, a vast majority of the game, but towards the end, I'm not sure he was in there. But he probably would not have been, neither of those guys probably would have been in there if it was not for that insurance. So Colorado, that's a great move. That's the only thing right you've done all year, in my opinion. Yeah, that's probably just rude and not correct. But so let's see here. Pop-Tarts Bowl, Rocco Becht for Iowa State went 22 for 36 and 270, threw for 3 touchdowns. Hansen carried for 16 and 82 with 2 touchdowns. And then Noel had 8 receptions for 117 yards and 1 touchdown for Iowa State. On the other side of the ball, Cam Ward threw 12 for 19 for 190 yards and 3 touchdowns. Damian Martinez had 14 carries, 179 yards and 1 touchdown. And then Arroyo, tight end for Miami, had 4 receptions for 64 yards and 1 touchdown. He was leading the team in reception yards or receiving yards, probably because folks were sitting out. I mean, Arroyo's a stud, but normally you don't see a tight end outside of Tyler Warren at Penn State leading a team in receiving yards. So, yeah, I mean, a little disappointing that game ended how it did. I was expecting Miami to do a heck of a lot better, but they did not. It is what it is. So congratulations, Iowa State, Matt Campbell, 11-win season, Pop-Tarts Bowl. You got the win. So let's see here. Today we also had the Wasabi Fenway Bowl. UConn beat the Tar Heels out of North Carolina, 27-14. In the Pinstripe Bowl, Nebraska beat Boston College 20-15. Let's see here. The New Mexico Bowl, TCU beat Louisiana 34-3. That does not seem like that was a very competitive game. I know everyone on this live stream was wondering how the Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl went, and I'm here to tell you that the Miami of Ohio team beat Colorado State 43-17. And then I think a big surprise for me was the Military Bowl, the Go Bowling Military Bowl. East Carolina beat NC State 26-21. So NC State just has not had the season that I thought they would. KC Concepcion is, I mean, he's transferring out. I'm not sure he's announced where he will be for the next season, but he will not be at NC State, and that's understandable. I feel like they have underperformed, and that's pretty unfortunate, because I thought NC State was going to have a little bit of a good year. So if you have any comments on any of those games, I did not look up any of the box scores for that. There was nothing that was really outside of the Pop-Tarts Bowl. There was nothing that I really felt needed to be announced on there other than the scores. So the next on my little list here is to talk about, oh my goodness, it's to talk about the Valero Alamo Bowl. Kevin Showalter, if you are still there, I don't know if if your kids are in the car and you feel like maybe you don't want them to hear some like negative or negativity, maybe turn it down. But I I cannot believe the narrative about Colorado being as good as they are, should have been in the playoff, or should have been in the, should have been in the Big 12 championship, had the Heisman winner, has a top 5 NFL draft quarterback, first rounder in Shedeur Sanders, and they got whipped by BYU 36-14, and all of those guys, like, they did. I don't know that they had any starters sit out. This is maybe one of the games where none of the starters on either side of the ball sat out, which I can appreciate. And they got handled by BYU. I've never pulled for BYU in my entire life except for today. If you are a follower of ours on X at all, you understand and have probably heard that we're not huge fans of Colorado, although, we'll welcome Colorado fans to, leave their opinion or tell us why we're wrong. But it made me extremely happy to see them get pummeled this evening, because all we've heard is the hype about the Colorado Buffaloes. So congratulations, BYU. Jake Retzlaff finished the day 12 for 21, 151 yards. He actually didn't even throw any touchdowns. He had 2 interceptions, though. It looks like it was just a big day on the ground for them. LJ Martin had 17 for 93 and 2 touchdowns rushing. And then it looks like maybe there was a defensive. Yeah, it looks like there was a defensive touchdown at one point, and then some field goals. So Travis Hunter on the other side of the ball was pretty quiet until towards the end of the game. He did end the game with 4 catches for 106 and 1, which, I mean, those are some chunk plays. There's no doubt about that. But he was pretty quiet until towards the end of the game. Final score 36-14. Shedeur Sanders, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I think he got sacked 4 or 5 times. What happened, Buff fans? What happened to the Colorado Buffaloes when you had all of your starters and you could not, and the Heisman winner, and you could not pull off a win against BYU? I'm very interested in hearing what happened there. You can't hide behind the fact that people were sitting out. So I'd love to hear what's going on there. It won't matter. They lost, and those guys are going to go to the NFL next year, and that's fine. They'll make their money, but it's kind of a bad way to go out. Easy for me to say from my desk chair, but moving forward, or looking forward, on Monday, December 30th, we've got the Music City Bowl against it's Iowa against Missouri. That's in Nashville, Tennessee. I picked Missouri to win that game. I'm just kind of an SEC guy, in Iowa, outside of their running back, has not shown to be much of a prolific offense. So I think that Missouri wins that game. On Tuesday, December 31st, we've got the ReliaQuest Bowl, Michigan against Alabama. That's kind of an intriguing game. I don't know how many people are going to be sitting out. I do foresee Alabama winning that game, just strictly because Michigan has an anemic offense. That game's at noon Pacific time in Tampa Bay, Florida. So, we'll be circling back on that certainly as those games happen. We've got Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl, UW, Washington versus Louisville. I've been to that game personally a few times as far as the Sun Bowl in El Paso. It's a pretty great place to watch a bowl game in December/January. And then let's see here. We've got the Citrus Bowl, South Carolina versus Illinois. That's a pretty good game. I think this is sneaky. That's at Camping World Stadium. I think South Carolina takes that game. Again, I'm an SEC guy, but I think South Carolina was one of those teams that were one win away from being very seriously considered for the college football playoff. So, and then let's see here. Also on January, sorry. December 31st. So that's going to be on Tuesday. We've got the first game of the second round for the college football playoffs. That's number 6 Penn State against the third seeded Boise State. It's interesting to me to see. I know Boise State earned their bye week in this college football playoff. I don't know that they're as good of a team as Penn State. I think Penn State's got an elite defense, even if Drew Aller is not very efficient. I think Penn State's defense is great, and as long as Boise State's pretty one-dimensional. So if they can shut down Ashton Jeanty, that's in the Fiesta Bowl. It should be pretty smooth sailing for Penn State, but that's why they play the game. The following day, we've got Texas at Arizona State. Again, Arizona State, they won their 4 seed. I get it. Texas at a 5 seed. I do think that Texas takes care of business there between Quinn Ewers, and that Texas defense is stout. So I know Cam Skattebo is a stud. I just am not entirely sure Arizona State has faced a defense like Texas all year. So I think Texas pulls away with that. The game that everyone is probably looking forward to the most is the rematch, Ohio State-Oregon. Ohio State is an 8 seed. Oregon is a 1 seed. Again, I don't think seeding matters. Ohio State played. I'm a Tennessee fan, and I will take my lumps. Tennessee took an absolute just drubbing last week in the playoff. Yeah, they played terribly, and Ohio State played as good as any team in the country. And so if Ohio State plays like that, Oregon is going to have a hard time beating them. It's hard to beat a team 2 times in a season, but if Ohio State plays like that, they're going to have a hard time. And it's at the Rose Bowl. It's in Pasadena. It's not at home where Oregon has their fans, although that stadium will be packed full of Oregon fans as well. So that's probably an electric bowl game. I'm pulling for Oregon. It's kind of hard for me to see Ohio State not winning that game, but I am pulling for Oregon. I think it all lies squarely on the shoulders of Will Howard and how he plays. He was able to make some crazy throws to his wide receivers. Goodness gracious, Jeremiah Smith. Jeremiah Smith, he made a couple incredible throws last week against Tennessee that just right in the breadbasket. And Jeremiah Smith doesn't need him right in the breadbasket. He's got the talent to catch a ball that is challenging to catch. But these were not challenging passes to catch. And so Will Howard, if you have another good game, I think you probably pull that out. Otherwise, if Will Howard does not have a good game and the Oregon defensive front can get to him, I do think that Oregon pulls it out. So it's all on you, Will Howard. No pressure. And then we have the All-State Sugar Bowl, Notre Dame, Georgia. That's an interesting game with Carson Beck not being the starting quarterback for Georgia. I saw that he declared for the draft today. So we have, I believe, Gunnar Stockton will probably be under center for that game against Notre Dame. Notre Dame played incredibly against Indiana. Some would argue that Indiana shouldn't have been there. They earned their spot. Okay, they got destroyed. So Notre Dame, if they come out and play like they did against Indiana, they're gonna put up a good fight against Georgia. I do still think Georgia pulls it out, but I do think it's a tight one. So love to hear your thoughts. I am not seeing – I'm seeing some comments here. Looks like Kevin thinks that Oregon wins the rematch 37-34. If there's anybody else who thinks if they want to toss out what they think that score is going to be, that final score for the Rose Bowl, the Oregon versus Ohio State game. Again, we really do want to engage listeners on this live stream and this podcast. We're here for the people. So we do love college football, and we love people, and we want to engage with people. And so, yes, feel free to send those in. Let's see here. We did so the TSP, or the Sideline Podcast, did have a Bowl Mania on ESPN competition, I guess. I mean, it's kind of like their fantasy football platform, but they also have this option for Bowl Mania where you can pick and choose who you think will win different bowl games throughout bowl season. We did have a competition. We posted it a couple times. There's only 5 of us in there, but that just means that whoever wins that has, or each person in that group has a good chance of winning that group. And so the winner of the ESPN Capital One Bowl Mania this year is going to win the championship hat. And let's see here. Yeah, it's going to win the championship hat for that. Yeah, whoever wins, we'll send it to you. So as of right now, it looks like I am in second place. We've got a gentleman named Wilson who's in there, who is 18-12. I'm 17-12, so just one game behind. And then SS Picks is at 17-13. Chad Wagler is at 16-13. And then our very own Kevin Showalter is at 13-15. Don't hold it against him. But he is not doing super well in Bowl Mania, but he is pretty incredible at fantasy football. This is just one of those things. So you know how it goes. If you have any questions about fantasy football, start, sit questions, throw them in the chat here or send them in a direct message to us. Kevin and I are very responsive. So if you're in the playoffs and you have some start sit questions for your games tomorrow, feel free to shoot them over to us.
I don't see Kevin and in your contact.
Wow. Siri just jumped on there. Yeah, if you have any start sit questions or need any advice, we can pitch that back to you. And even if you don't go with whatever we think you should go with, we at least we can dialogue with you and help you make that decision. And so, yeah, let's see here. Finally, I don't know that I have anything else. Kevin, feel free if you wanted to add, if there's anything I should touch bases on before I finish this out. We're at 37 minutes. I may not go any farther. I believe my family has gotten home. It's time to spend some time with them. But Kevin, feel free to send over a message if there's anything that you think I should touch bases on. Looking forward to this next week of college football bowl games. And then also for many of you who are in the fantasy football championships for the NFL, a big day for you tomorrow. I follow the NFL. I'm more of a college football guy. I am a Buffalo Bills guy. So they're doing pretty well this year, and that makes me happy. Josh Allen for MVP, you already know. So, yeah, I think that will do it unless there are any questions or comments that I will respond to. I think I'm probably going to close this thing off. Yeah, thank you all so much for listening. Anyone who was. Again, we are the Sideline Podcast. We love college football. We love fantasy football. We love NFL football. We love being friends, and so we wanted to create a podcast where we could talk about football and the fantasy football implications. So check us out on X at Sideline FF Pod. We're running wild in the comments. We're also trying to create and provide quality content with different takes and start sit questions. We are very active. We're also on YouTube at Sideline FF Pod. Subscribe and ring the bell if you want to be notified when we release content. So thank you all for being here. I hope you have had a wonderful Christmas and enjoy the rest of your evenings. We'll continue on 8 p.m. Pacific time on Saturdays. I know as football ends, we'll have to figure out more and more about, what this show, maybe things will be a little bit more sporadic, but we try to be consistent and to interact with the people. So we'll see you next week at 8 p.m. Pacific time. Thank you for joining us. Kevin, Thank you so much. Kevin, last question. He wants to know what brand of shampoo I use for my lovely curls. I use Huron. They are, I don't know if anyone knows about Huron, Huron. They're out of New York. And it's the only shampoo that I found that I like the smell of. So check them out. Huron, if you have a representative on this call or on this live stream, feel free to reach out to me and send me free shampoo for that shout out. So have a great night, everybody. Thanks.